The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
This morning, a Selma police officer killed in the line of duty will be laid to rest. Officer Gonzalo Carrasco Jr. was just 24 years old when he was shot and killed while patrolling a neighborhood. Catherine Phillips has more.
After weeks of mourning the loss of 24-year-old Selma police officer Gonzalo Carrasco Jr., a public viewing and mass was held Wednesday night ahead of his funeral services. Officers from law enforcement agencies across the valley coming to Selma to show support, as well as community members in Selma and family and friends from his hometown of Reedley. Selma City Councilwoman Blanca Mendoza Navarro says she remembers Carrasco from attending his pinning ceremony.
I personally didn't know him, but just you could feel that everybody was there for a purpose, for a reason, for the same reason, to protect our city.
She says it's been tough on their city, but they're also overwhelmed with the support.
I could feel actually the support from across the valley. We went to dinner the other night and we ran into some, random people that we didn't know, and they asked where we were from, and they said they were praying for our community because, it was such a tragedy.
Carrasco's death marked the first time a police officer had been shot and killed in the line of duty in Selma's history. Because of that, Chief of Police Rudy Alcaraz tells us the department is still very emotional. Mendoza Navarro says moving forward, City Council wants to find a more permanent tribute for Carrasco and wants to make sure every other officer is safe patrolling the streets of Selma.
We just want to, give respect to the family and pay our respects here, but after this, we have to get down to business and we have to figure out, what can we do to help prevent this from happening again.
Catherine Phillips reporting. Meantime, newly released police body cam video shows the moments an intense gun battle erupted between Riverside County Sheriff's deputies and an armed suspect. The shooting happened in December following a manhunt for the suspect who shot and killed Deputy Isaiah Cordero, an 8-year veteran of the Riverside County Sheriff's Office. After locating the suspect, who law enforcement identified as William Shea McKay, a pursuit began. After McKay's vehicle became disabled, he began shooting at officers who then returned fire, killing McKay. According to law enforcement, McKay was a career criminal with a violent record. Deputy Cordero was conducting a traffic stop in Europa Valley when McKay shot him as he approached his vehicle.
Your time now is 5:05. Bakersfield's famous Big Shoe repair shop will need some repairs of its own after a car plowed into the building, and this isn't the first time it's happened. Bakersfield police say yesterday morning 2 cars crashed, sending one careening through the front door of the 75-year-old landmark. The drivers were not hurt. The only person inside Bakersfield's little slice of Disneyland architecture was cobbler Felipe Torres, who wasn't hurt either.
What I was doing, I was working like every day, but all of a sudden I just heard like squeaking thing, a car, and boom.
Did you jump 6 feet? What did you do?
No, it threw me off about 3 feet back.
It literally...
All the material, everything. You see the shelf?
Yeah.
Push me. Boom.
Wow. Are you hurt at all?
Only my back, but no, I don't think it's something big, but...
So now you have a story to tell your children?
The shoe kicked me in the butt. See? My own shoe.
At least he's got a sense of humor about it. This is at least the second time the Big Shoe, which sits at the corner of Chester and 10th, has required repairs after being hit by a car. The iconic building, which was built in 1947, has a semi-glorious history in commercial advertising. In 1989, the building was used in a national campaign promoting DuPont carpeting, and it's turned up in U.S. News and World Report, Time, Newsweek, Fortune, People, Smithsonian Magazine, Architectural Digest, The Wall Street Journal, and USA Today, among other publications. Solomon Oliveira, who owns the building, not the business, says while he's not making any promises, he's sure he and Felipe will repair it because it is an iconic piece of Bakersfield history.
I see buses come by, people come and take pictures. I see, I talked to a writer from Salinas not too long ago, came and he was, writing a story, but I like to see, the people like it, I like to see it.
Torres says the city worker suggested he put in a request to put in bollard poles around the business because there have been so many accidents in the area, but he said he wasn't sure exactly where to start. And moving on to our continuing coverage of Black History Month here on 17 News. This morning, the story of a church in Bakersfield that has stood the test of time. Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church has been in the community for over 130 years, and church leaders say they don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. 17's Michaela Armstrong visited the church and has more on its history and longevity.
Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church was founded in 1886. The church started in a different building further up from where it is today after being destroyed by the earthquake, moving the church to purchase this building on California Avenue in 1954.
They bought this property here for $10 of gold.
137 years later, since the beginnings of the original church, Pastor Hiawatha T. Calhoun says he can still feel the history in the room.
When people come through the door, they feel that welcome, they feel that love, they feel that warmth, and so that's what keeps us going.
Historically, black churches have served as a focal point for African Americans, a place for creating individual, systemic, and political change within the black community, serving as a basin of hope when things were tough, with the help of the voices in the pulpit preaching the words in the Bible.
They didn't let discrimination or hate get in their way. They preach love for one another. And so that's why we were able to sustain it up to this time.
Calhoun became one of those preachers after he took over the church in 1983 at the age of 35.
I was the youngest pastor they had with a young family. Most of my deacons and trustees were in their 50s. Something had to be in me that these men showed that support and showed the love for me, and I showed love for them.
The church is updated for the times of today, but even includes older details to remind the congregation of its deep history, including a wall for the, quote, backbones of the church that pillared it throughout its years. And if anyone has any questions if Mount Zion is going anywhere, Calhoun says,
as long as God says so, we'll be here.
Michaela Armstrong with that report. The M Street Navigation Center is now seeking donations for its health and hygiene drive. They're looking for travel-size hygiene products like shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, toothbrushes, and deodorant. They're also asking for new men's and women's socks. You can drop the items off at the shelter Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. through the end of April. You can also make monetary donations on the CAPK website. M Street Navigation Center is a low-barrier shelter that helps people experiencing homelessness transition into permanent housing and gain employment.
Looking ahead in your 17 Court Watch, the couple charged in the deaths of their adopted sons, Orrin and Orson West, are due back in court this morning. Prosecutors allege that 4-year-old Orrin and 3-year-old Orson West were killed about 3 months before their adoptive parents reported them missing in December of 2020. The boys' bodies have not been found. The parents, Trezell and Jacqueline West, will be in court today ahead of their trial, which is set to begin in March.
This morning, a man is behind bars for allegedly possessing child pornography and several other sex-related charges. With a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, Bakersfield police detectives arrested 29-year-old Lawrence Morales Jr. of Bakersfield. Morales is facing 6 felony counts and is being held on $270,000 bail. He is due in court later today.
Making news around the nation, a sentencing hearing for the man responsible for a racially motivated shooting inside a Buffalo grocery store turned chaotic yesterday when a man tried to attack the convicted mass murderer. Take a look. The shooter was in court for his sentencing after pleading guilty to murder and hate-related terrorism charges. Barbara Massey, the sister of Catherine Massey, who was one of the 10 people killed inside the Tops grocery store, was delivering an emotionally charged victim impact statement when a man standing behind her pushed past and tried to get to the shooter. Police were quick to react and stopped the man before he could reach him. However, the 19-year-old shooter was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison on each count.
A Tennessee inmate was caught on camera jumping from a two-story courthouse window and charged for the attempted escape. Watch the third inmate from the right. That is Michael Smith, who was in court with 6 other inmates before jumping out the window. Authorities say Smith had gotten up numerous times to get a tissue, but this time he made his way past the tissue box and out the window. Smith landed on his back and started to run, but he was stopped when he saw a law enforcement officer. He was quickly captured and taken to the hospital to be treated for the injury he got after falling out of that two-story window.
Politics now. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley announcing this week she's running for president in 2024. Haley sat down for her first network interview since making that declaration with NBC's Craig Melvin.
It's been reported that a couple weeks ago you call your former boss, you asked for his blessing to run, and he said that you called him the greatest president. If that's true, then why run against him?
I'm going to keep that phone call personal. I didn't ask. I told that I thought that we needed to go in a new direction. When I first said I wouldn't run against him, Afghanistan hadn't fallen. We didn't see the rise in inflation like we've seen. We didn't see what was happening in our schools the way it was, and we didn't see the results of the midterms that we just had. It is time for a new generation of leaders. You shouldn't have to be 80 years old to get to Washington. And we've got to start righting the ship. We need new blood. We need new leadership because we have some serious challenges.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.